Hi, everyone. Sorry, that was Caroline. Welcome to, that was Teresa. Welcome to the Explain It podcast with Caroline Cain and Ingrid Hernandez. With us today is the great Benson Juarez from Privy. How are you, Benson?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be with you guys. What's going on?
Yeah. We have been focusing on helping people get their first deals. And so we called it the 100-Day Challenge. And part of the reason why we call it the 100-Day Challenge is because we want people to stick to one thing for long enough for it to work. And so if people could get a little bit hyper focused on exactly what they're going after, and generally it's wholesaling. So that's kind of the focus here. And we've talked about some pretty amazing platforms. And then people kept bringing up Privy. They're like, well, what about Privy? And I was like, you know what? Let's hear it from the horse's mouth. And let's bring Benson on so that he can talk about Privy. So welcome.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Fantastic. So Benson, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of like what is the genesis of actually having Privy for you? I don't think I've ever heard that story before.
Yeah. So I've been in the business forever. I got in the business in 2002, right around that time. I was actually active duty military at the time, and I was trying to figure out what my next play was going to be in the world, right? Because I was in grad school right before 9/11 happened. And then at that time I was in the National Guard in the Air Force. And so I got activated when 9/11 happened. I got pulled out of grad school, got sent overseas, and then did a stint out there. And I got to come back to Colorado and operate at our base. And so I got to actually go home and, sleep in my own bed when I wasn't at the base. And some of the days off that I would get would land like right in the middle of the week because it was like this 3 on, 2 off, and it would just kind of like this rotating schedule. And I've always been a hustler. I've always, kind of been an entrepreneur. And so a friend of mine was doing loans. And so I was like, I want to do loans too. And so I started doing loans during the day and going to the base at night. And that's how I kind of started getting the taste of real estate. And so after that, I started looking at different strategies for buying properties and wholesale. I eventually got licensed as an agent and, bought a bunch of properties, did some wholesale in like the mid 2000s. And then obviously, 2008 rolled around and I, made a bunch of mistakes, wasn't properly prepared for the downturn in the market.
Who was? But yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people weren't, but it's still no excuse, right? Like I effed up. So I had to like figure out how a way to kind of recreate myself. So I really started focusing on REOs and I placed myself with banks or real estate agents that had bank owned properties. And so I could get first look on those for myself and for my clients. And I met my business partner in Privy there. And so, we're always looking for ways of doing more automated activities, not manually grinding every day, looking for automated ways of comping, searching for deals, tracking markets, looking at who the buyers are. And it was just, the genesis was just what was happening at the time. Right.
Yeah.
So, fast forward, that was probably like 2011 when we were really like kind of putting everything together. And I was first an investor in the company. Like at that point in time, I was doing what's called angel investing. So I was investing in startup companies. So I was putting money in different technology companies, put money in like a gold mine, put money in like another tech company. And then Privy was my first, well, not my first, but it was my investment into Privy. And so I got pulled out to another project out in LA that I invested in, and we raised a bunch of money. And I went out there, and my partner Scott really just took what were ideas and turned it into a real business. And then in 2015, I got lured back to Colorado to take a full-time like operational position with the company and negotiated another kind of like ownership piece so that I could be part of the growth. And now we're 2004, so 9 years we've been grinding our faces off to get the business to where it is today.
What? It didn't happen overnight in like 5 days and like get
Yeah,
going?
9-year overnight success.
Yes, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Mm.
I like that. It's really funny.
So it's been a long road, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like I've known Caroline for few years now, right, Caroline?
Yeah.
When we started working with Pace,
Mhm.
and yeah, it's been a long road, a lot of just, you know, 18-hour days, or, you know, however long they would do, 7 days a week.
Mhm.
But now we've gotten it to a really good point where the team is growing. We just hired on a new, you know, marketing person and new developers. We're over 20 people now on the team. And most everybody's here in the US, which is awesome. A good portion of them are here in Colorado. And yeah, everything's going really well.
That must be a great sense of pride, right? Like to be able to I was listening to a podcast with a guy who used to be an ex-spy, and it was an amazing podcast. And he's like,
Nice.
my responsibility as an American citizen, which I can now say I'm an American citizen, is to grow GDP. And like the way you grow GDP is to be a business owner and really, you know, we grow GDP in all kinds of ways, right? But like that's like a strong, healthy economy. So, like being an entrepreneur, you have more control over how your contribution shows up in GDP, like hiring American employees. So, that's really
Yeah.
cool. Very awesome.
So
Oh
Benson,
yeah.
what we want to go over today, and I remember going through preview with you on the Elephant Challenge before, because we have a lot of people who just want to understand how to use the data really well.
Mhm.
You were marketing in St. Louis before. Are you still marketing over in St. Louis?
I am. Yeah, I was just in St. Louis just a couple weeks ago looking at
Mm.
some property. And
I
Caroline, I'm
remember-
having trouble hearing you. The mic,
Oh.
you should move the mic closer.
I'm guessing my microphone's not working.
No, your
And
mic's
that's-
not very close to you at all, though.
Can you hear me better now?
No, it's not working.
Yeah. So I'm just going to turn my microphone on my computer here, which is crazy. Is that any better? Still bad?
It's okay. I just noticed it.
It's okay. Well, this
Mm.
is why I was going to do my. That's a bummer. Well, all I was asking Benson then is mine just not plugged in? I was just going to ask you. I know that you were investing in St. Louis before, and I've just heard a lot of people talking about how hot St. Louis is with Privy.
Yeah.
Is that any better now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So with Privy, and I know that you are doing this, how many deals a month are you doing because of the data you're getting from Privy?
Not very many at all. I shifted the late last year from like being, you know, everyday grinding with Privy to like getting a little bit of time back so I could take some hats off with Privy itself and do some of my own type deals. So I'm really just kind of ramping up my business. You know, last year I closed like 5 or 6 deals. So it's not very many at all. But the goal this year is to do more consistent deal flow because I've got some bandwidth back.
Well, I was going to say you're, you know, busy being an overnight success with Privy. So that makes sense as to why you're more of a business, I'll say a business developer more than you were a real estate investor. So it's important to distinguish between the two. You have a really amazing tool. And now not only are you an owner, but you're also a user. I don't know if you guys remember the hair plug guy. He's like, not only am I president, but I'm also a client. But you know, I'm so glad to hear you're stabilizing, you're growing it big, and so now you can focus being an investor and seeing how that works.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, right? And so it's so funny, like when I was really like deep, like doing all of the training with Privy every single day, and you know, I would be like, come on, just go out there and do it. You know, it's okay if you got a 9-to-5 job, you can do it in nights and weekends, and it just all sounds so simple, right?
Yeah.
And so now I'm really getting a good taste of, you know, what it takes to be able to have like a full-time thing going on, and now doing, you know, more real estate investing activities. And so it, you know, just like I saw Jason pop up earlier, and We had a chance to hang out down in Texas before, and people have lives that are going on, and there's just so much happening in
Mm-hmm.
people's lives, and so it's hard to get stuff going. And so it's really interesting to be in that position to kind of start from scratch and build the portion where you've got systems and you've got processes and team members doing different things. And so it's really fun to really build it all from scratch.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. And especially since you've been around for 9 years, and there's some crazy statistic, right? Like companies don't make it past, I don't even know, like the first year is really tough. The fact that you made it past 5 is amazing. So like you're now in a term where you become kind of an exciting asset for other people to potentially buy, right? Because you're hitting that
Yeah.
like 7 to 10 year mark. And I know me, I'm always looking for businesses, and it's like, okay, that's like the range that I'm looking for, because it means you've stabilized, you know how to run a company. Hopefully it's profitable if you've been doing it for that long. So
Mhm.
that's pretty great. Amazon, I think it took however long before they were even profitable. It's crazy. It was a crazy
Oh
stat. Those
yeah,
things
there's
are cool.
lots of companies that never become profitable. I remember
Mhm.
Zillow was like one of those for a long time, and I don't maybe they are now, but even like recently, like they weren't profitable. They just
Yeah.
kept raising money, building more stuff, raising money, building more stuff. And for someone that like because they're not profitable doesn't mean there's not money coming. Like there's $1 billion company. It's just
Right.
it's a difference between like being profitable, whereas you've paid off all your debt, and you have cash coming in that covers all of the all of your expenses, and then there's money left over, for
Mhm.
other things. So, they're still making a lot of money. It's profitable is a different thing.
Yeah, for sure. So, like we were mentioning, everybody's really excited and had been asking a lot of questions about Privy. I've been able to navigate Privy a little bit, but because I've changed sort of where my focus is. Um, so would you be okay with showcasing Privy to us, and like how would folks use it, and like what are some of the things that they should take advantage of? Like why should somebody use Privy for their REI business?
Yeah, there's a thousand and one reasons why you can use Privy, and people do every day. Like we've got thousands and thousands of users across the US that use it every day in their business for different things.
Mhm.
And it's everything from, you know, market selection to comping using, real MLS data, not MLS, not data that is MLS like. This
Mhm.
is, some of the major differences that I'll get into. And then having, algorithmic powered processes inside of Privy that comps the same way as an agent or an appraiser would, because comping is one of those really difficult things that only comes with reps, right?
Mhm.
And most people that are probably watching this, they're not comping a bunch of properties because they don't have a consistent deal flow. So they
Yeah.
just comp when they get a lead. And so maybe they comp, once a week or once every, a couple times a month. And then that's just not enough reps to really get good at it.
Mhm.
So with Privy, we've got an algorithm that's comping every single property in the US 24/7, and it in major areas, in most areas actually, we've got
Mhm.
that direct to MLS data. So you're getting accurate data for sold fix and flips and comparables to establish as is value as well as after repair value. And then we can take that data along with all of the other public record data that we have nationwide, and we can start to really understand investor activity. And I do believe that's probably one of the most important differences with Privy compared to other platforms is that it's an educational tool. It
Mhm.
teaches you markets. It isn't
Right.
just like a CRM or a platform where it's all input. This is actually going to show you like here are the hottest areas to invest in a particular area.
Mm.
Here is the here's what other investors are having success with. Here's what a deal is in
Mhm.
St. Louis versus another platform. So, or another city. So that kind of education, you can't get from a podcast. You can't get it from YouTube University. Mentors can't provide that kind of education because most mentors are teaching kind of universally nationwide. So there is no sort of definition of like here's what a deal is in St. Louis versus another market. And we fortunately know two of the best mentors and coaches in the world with Pace and Jamil, but that kind of granular local market information you just don't get in those formats.
Okay, so I'm gonna rapid fire some questions at you when we go through this, because I've been pushing a lot of people to be doing door knocking, pre-foreclosures, so they're direct to seller. And actually was just using Privy on a lead I just spoke to before this podcast, because I was trying to find out lien information. The MLS didn't have lien information on it, and Privy did. It had a few liens for an HOA. So I was just curious, will Privy, I know it's more so like for finding on-market deals, do you think Privy in the future will be able to do list pulling?
List pulls now. It always has.
I mean, let me rephrase this, because there's other softwares out there. Can you do like utilities, like water shutoffs? Can you do pre-foreclosure data? Is that accurate day to day? Because I know you're pulling directly from the MLS with Privy, correct?
We pulled directly from the MLS. Can you show my screen?
Yeah, let me throw it up here for you.
And I can give you more detail on this. So we have direct to MLS wherever it's blue, right? So those are the direct to MLS markets. It's over 100.
Gotcha.
Wherever it's black and gray is what we would consider like prop stream level data. So public record data, county record data, that's all nationwide. Most data providers get data from the same places. It's because it's all county record, right? So there isn't anything unique about those. Now there is different things, like when it comes to list pulling, we're not pulling data as deep as you were talking about right now, like you might get from another platform. This is as far as we've gone so far. So foreclosures, absentee owners, tired landlords, vacancies, you can, we have some like built-in filters, like for somebody who's maybe owned a property for a long period of time, which means they probably have a lot of equity, or a zombie property is both vacant and an absentee owner. Tired landlord is an absentee owner that's owned their property for 10 years. So we're already doing some kind of like list stacking in the system. But as far as like you're talking about like those, tax liens,
just other things,
code violations, stuff, we don't have that deep of motivational lists at the moment. This is what we currently have.
But in the future, you think that's something that could potentially be added to the Privy platform?
Oh yeah, we're always adding new stuff.
And I just want to say, I know that it's not for everybody on here watching. I know it's not something that they're like advertising right now. They're going to be working towards that, one thing at a time. But my contact I just spoke to did have their HOA liens on that property, so I was able to see that, whereas other places did not have that, and I found that from Privy. So that was very helpful. Yeah, it was really neat. I enjoyed it. I was like, okay, they have like 3 liens. They have 3 different liens they've gotten from their HOA, which was really educational.
Oh yeah.
But I know that liens you do. Go ahead.
I was gonna say liens is a great way to get your hands involved in some properties. You can buy liens and put yourself in a redemption, the redemption process, in the kind of the lien holder redemption, where they start off with, the lien holders and they work backward. I've bought many properties, not recently, but back when I was really active in 2005, like that was my main strategy. I would buy liens, put myself in, and then I would redeem out, the liens prior to me so I could get some properties. And back then there was a lot of lien holders that didn't redeem, and mostly it was like second liens and equity lines of credit. They wouldn't redeem because they weren't in the business of owning real estate. So liens would fall off and then create equity out of thin air. And that was like a really cool strategy. And it still works today.
It's a nice way to do it. So I know technical difficulties, my mic didn't work, so I switched back down to my little setup down here. But what I think Ingrid touched base on, we're doing a challenge. If people go 100 days hitting the KPIs and the standards we've said, we can see them getting properties under contract. And I actually earlier this morning, I said hi to Ingrid and tried to get the podcast set up because I was on the phone. But I even had somebody today, just for everybody on here, if you're just now tuning in, and if you haven't already, please tell a few other people, because let's use Benson for all we can. I've been a preview user for a while. It's really nice. It's fast, accurate data. They're pulling it from the MLS every day, which is, you can't say that from and multiple times a day. You're pulling multiple times a day from the MLS, correct?
We are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's really nice because you're getting fast, accurate data, and speed is really what's going to help you. But I had 2 people actually yesterday and today that have copied off of the strategy that I've been doing. One of them had been in sub 2 for 2 years, didn't get a property under contract. They just got their first property under contract in the last week. Copying off. They're making $26,000 in total from that deal, and they're splitting it with somebody. So they're getting 50% of that deal by doing this. I had another woman who just got a $65,000 assignment by copying off of this. So why are we bringing Benson on? Why are we telling you guys about this in the podcast? And why has this been a challenge that we've been doing? We want more people being successful and having fast, accurate tools that can tell you the data that's going to help you comp the deal to know where you need to be, to get accurate, fast numbers. What is an accurate ARV so you can wholesale it to an end buyer? The guy who had a deal today is working 2 jobs. He wants to leave those jobs so he can do this full time and provide for his children. Okay. So this is a really, like, I want you guys thinking of this when we have Benson on here. What is your intention being in this podcast anytime we do this? But ask your questions in the side chat, because we're going to see them and we'll throw them up on the screen, and I want to make sure that we answer them. But Benson's very thorough. And I mean, man, Benson, how many deals are you doing a month right now? How many deals do you think you're doing from the way that you're able to comp data and get a hold of everybody?
I'm business building right now. I've written several offers. You know, I don't have anything.
We might be doing a deal, actually. That's my partner right there. We're waiting for the contract to come through. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Ingryd and I are working on a deal right now. Ingryd and I actually closed a deal a few weeks ago on a different project.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I'm just like, I would say I'm business building right now, putting the processes in place. 3 weeks ago, almost 4 weeks ago now, talk about data, right? I was looking for another market, right? So I've got some stuff established in St. Louis, but I met some guys at a mastermind I'm part of called Investor Fuel. And Ingryd was with me. She came down, and we met some really cool people out there. And I met this group called the Crown City Properties Group. And when I met them, they were doing some really cool things with foreclosures. And, you know, it's been, over a decade since I was really knocking on doors and doing that sort of thing. So I went out and I hung out with them for 3 weeks in Kansas City. So that's like another market I just added, but I chose that market very intentionally. So can we show the screen again? Absolutely. I'll show you guys the best strategy, in my opinion, to choose a market to invest, because basically most investors, wholesalers, however you categorize yourself, we'll say investors, because that kind of encompasses everybody. They invest where they live, because they think that, okay, well, if I'm going to have any success at this, I want to be able to be on the ground. I want to be my own boots on the ground. And there is some benefit to that, but that is worth nothing if you're in a low investment activity area. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you're targeting high investor activity areas. So one of the things that we do is we track all the investment activity nationwide. So over here on the left, you click this button that says fix and flip. What that does is that plots on the map where all the fix and flip activity is nationwide. Now, why does this matter? Well, it matters because the majority of the time, the way we measure how good a deal is, what do we say? It's at a certain percentage of ARV. So let's just say 60% of ARV. Well, that means you can get it at 60% of what the potential value of that house is after it's been fixed up and then sold, right? And that's all based off of comps. So one of the things I tell people is don't just invest in an area because that's where you live. Like, let the data lead you to where you should be targeting. And you're going to have much more success in an area that has high investment activity. So wherever you see blue is where there's activity. Where you don't see blue is where no one's doing deals. Where you see large circles with high numbers is where there's a lot of activity. So the ingredients to be able to assemble a deal comes from comps, right? You need comparables to be able to prove after repair value on the properties you guys are evaluating. If the majority of people here are doing wholesale, you have to be looking in areas where people are flipping. Otherwise, if you don't have comps that were flipped that are part of the comp set of the house that you're evaluating, you literally cannot prove ARV. If you don't have flipped comps, you're guessing on what ARV is. And guess what? This is not a guessing game. This is a data-driven game. The only way you're going to prove to a buyer what the after repair value is if you've got flipped comps. Otherwise, you're going to be using unrenovated comps. And now that buyer is going to be telling you that they're not interested in the deal. They're going to give you some, lowball number of what they'd be willing to buy the property for, which will blow up your numbers, which means there's no room for an assignment fee. So the best strategy, especially for newbies, and probably most people here who are doing this challenge, are getting going. The easiest way to find a deal, right? Something that's at a low percentage of ARV, is to find the unrenovated house that's in the same neighborhood as the house that was just fixed and flipped and sold yesterday. Because the house that was fixed and flipped and sold yesterday is what the after repair value is in that neighborhood for a property that's there. So you just have to find the unrenovated house. That's way more simple to do than to find motivated sellers. Because you could have a list of foreclosures. Maybe there's 100 foreclosures this month. Are any of those people really motivated? Well, we don't know, but we can infer that they might be because there's a timeline that they're going to lose their house. But most of them are sticking their head in the sand. Most of them don't want to talk to you. But when you find a house that's unrenovated, that's in the same neighborhood as a house or several houses that were just fixed and flipped, and that house is actually available, maybe it's on market, maybe it's off market, it's really easy to make the numbers work. Like you could literally write an offer at asking price or at retail and be down the street from a fix and flip and get that house at 50% of the ARV, which makes it way more simple. So the data will make this process way more simple for anybody who's struggling. If you're looking for a property and you live in, let's say, Goodland, Kansas, like you're screwed. You're going to have a really hard time getting any success, any level of any momentum in this business because you don't have the ingredients to put a deal together. But if you go to where I went a few weeks ago, Kansas City, there's lots of activity here. Now, it's not much as St. Louis, which is why I chose that market first last time, but Kansas City is a good market. Look at Oklahoma City. Look at Indianapolis, Chicago, Nashville.
What do you think is a good rule of thumb for what is active? It's easier to, and this is why Privy is amazing, right? Like you can take a more global view, but from a practical sense, like would you say 100? Would you say 50?
No, I would say 1,000 plus. Like, yeah, 1,000. Here's the thing. I don't think that there's a specific number. And the reason why I say that is because I think about opportunity cost. Because there's 100 right here in this little city, whatever this is, Savannah. And they've just broke up. But maybe I could stumble into a deal in this market because there's some activity here. But why would I go and spend, my very valuable time potentially stumbling into a deal here where maybe the house that I found has some comps that were flipped, whereas I can increase the chances of that being true by coming right down here to Kansas City. The more investor activity is, the more the stuff you need to put together a deal is. And so the goal is to find what's called a 5-star comp. Ooh. So a 5-star comp is the best way to put a deal together that's going to have the most demand for it. Our buyers are going to want it. So 5-star comp is a property that was fixed and flipped. It's sold yesterday.
Okay, let's pause one at a time. And everybody, you need to start writing some notes down because Benson's throwing in some gems. Okay, so number 1.
Fix and flipped. The comp should be fix and flipped.
Okay.
Number 2, it's sold yesterday.
Nice.
Right, so that's time, right? You want the most recent comps. The third thing is it's right next door to yours. So proximity. right? The closer the comp is to your subject property, the more relevant it is. 4 is the property characteristics. So you want it to be, again, this concept of a 5-star comp is a unicorn thing. It never is all true, right? The 4th thing is you want it to have the exact same number of bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, same number of stories, same year built. Everything should be the same. It should be a mirror image of your subject property. Okay. The last thing is you want a bunch of them, right? So that's kind of like the last check mark on that is like, you want your house and you want every house around it to be exactly like yours, a fix and flip and sold yesterday. Doesn't happen, right? So if that is your true north and that's what you're shooting for every time, you're going to have the stuff that you need to determine what the after repair value is, right? You can only determine after repair value from a house that was fixed, that matches this criteria, that was fixed and flipped. Okay. And then the further you get away from true north, the less relevant that is. So if that property is a mile away, but it was fixed and flipped and closed yesterday, well, that's still pretty valuable, but it's probably too far away. So you want it to be close. The easiest way to make that happen is to target these high investor activity areas. So you don't want to go for that property that was way up in here where there's no one doing deals. You want to be closer to where you have these larger circles. So this is another thing that's proprietary to Privy. There is another platform in the world that does what I'm showing you.
Yeah. So Deborah, listen, because this is why Privy is amazing and essentially telling you the difference right now, Deborah. So somebody had a question about what's the difference in platforms. This is what Benson is reviewing, because you don't get this in any other platform right now.
And what you're saying, right, Benson, is you were zooming in where there's a large number of transactions happening. That's what you're looking at.
Fix and flip transactions, not just normal. These are all fix and flips. Now, there is no tag or there's no sort of categorization of a fix and flip in any data source out there. So the MLS doesn't have it. County Records doesn't have it. So we have to create basically a formula where we can say, okay, this property is more than likely a fix and flip because of this filter. Yeah. So we got a fix and flip criteria. They got it at 75% of the ARV or lower, right? And then they bought it, fixed up, and sold it, and that all happened within 18 months. Any property that you bought at 75% of the ARV in those 2 short time periods is likely going to be a fix and flip. Now, again, I'm not suggesting that you have to fix and flip.
I wanted to ask you a question there, Benson. Your filter automatically finds what's been sold in those 18 months?
No, it's the last 12 months what's been sold. But what we do is we look back at when it was previously, the first time it was purchased.
Gotcha. And your filter automatically does that?
It does.
Beautiful. Okay, cool. Yeah. That's really good to know. And could you just do it one more time so everybody can see that? How did you get to that filter?
So this is all preset. So if I reset this, let me go back. So I'm starting out here. I want to find an area that has direct to MLS. So wherever blue is, that's another one of the check boxes on how I select my markets. I don't want to go look for deals maybe in Boise right now, which has moderate investment activity, but we don't have direct to MLS there yet. So I'm not even going to consider it because I want the best data that's available. So there's, like I said, over 100 of other choices out there that has high investor activity markets. You don't have to force yourself into a market like this. So I click this button here that says fix and flip. That plots on the map where all this investment activity is. And then I just drill down on a market that I think looks good. And I can either zoom in using the roll.
I think Benson froze. He's frozen on my end. He's frozen on yours?
Okay, yeah, he's frozen on me too.
Yeah. No. I think we're having computer issues because my thing keeps muting itself as well. So while we're waiting for Benson to come back here and get signal, everybody. Oh, there we go. Now you're back. All right, we'll let you continue.
Welcome back, Benson.
What happened?
It froze on our end. We couldn't hear you.
I think the gems were so good that the internet was like, no, we can't let Benson drop these kinds of gems.
They're like over it. Okay. So I'm going to click in on these little clusters here, and then this is going to drill us in. And now we're going to see we're not just looking at Kansas City in general, you guys, because again, the goal is to find a 5-star comp. If I'm evaluating a deal that's in right here in this neighborhood in Noches Park, it doesn't matter if I have a comp way over here. I need comps in this that are within a half a mile of my subject property. So I have this term called the reverse REI strategy. You work backward. So you target a high investor activity area for leads, which increases the chances that you're going to have fix and flip comps as part of the comp set. We don't target low investor activity areas, and don't pull lists from Western Blue Township. There's no reason to pull a list from here because we know there's not going to be any comps that were flipped as part of the comp set. We already know that because there's no activity here. So this is how you work it backwards. So you target an area like this, which now we know there's going to be flips in the area. The thing that we just need to, where there's some kind of uncertainty, is will our subject property have flipped comps? That's the thing we can't control, but we do increase the chances. And then we have these properties over here.
We increase the chances, Benson, because you're picking an area that has had a lot of flips happening, and that's why you're going there. So for new people, make sure you're hearing us when we're saying this right now. That is a pro tip. Dude, oh my gosh, I'm from a cornfield in the middle of nowhere, Indiana. My first deal I ever did, I made $2,100 on it, and I spent the exact same amount of energy on deals I've made $45,000 on. Please do not make the same bonehead mistakes as me. If you have no comps, you should run. Do not do deals where there are no comps. You cannot. The goal, especially for our new people, somebody just messaged me on Instagram. Emmanuel, I saw your message. He said, Caroline, I'm in the sub-2 community, but I fell off. I didn't have enough motivation. Now I'm trying to come back, and I just don't know how to get started again. Any tips? I have tips for you guys. You need to focus on markets where there's going to be opportunity for you to move deals. And this is what we really want to happen. Let me make this even more dramatic. I want you guys to not have any W-2s anymore. I want you guys to do deals with me, Benson, Ingryd. We want you guys to be doing deals. And I literally, Benson, I just wrote down on my notes, I'm like, Benson is a good coach. I need to get to more of his little trainings because you do a great job of breaking this down. And I know I get excited and I talk really fast to everyone, but the reverse engineering strategy he's talking about is gold. If you guys are not paying attention to Benson, his YouTube, interacting with him when he goes onto lives, this is what we talk about. Always reverse engineer. So pick a market, 1, where deals are happening. 2, do not try and move any deals if you do not have comps. And he just gave you a huge nugget. You can make money off of this. There's active. What did you just say last week, Ingryd? You had somebody ask you for days on market for properties that are getting flipped, and she pulled that from the MLS. Ingryd has direct MLS access because she's a realtor. The tips we're hearing from Benson are going to help you guys get properties moved quickly and wholesale so you can get large chunks of change so you can do whatever heck else you want. You can be like Benson, you can go buy businesses instead of focusing on fix and flips or wholesale. So I just really wanted to highlight that while Benson said that. It's a very important fix and flip tip, wholesale tip. If you do not have comps, you are SOL, and that stands for shit out of luck, baby. All right. So do not make those mistakes. All right, Benson, I'm going to let you continue going, but I had to stop that for a moment because it was too good to miss. So you have a lot of comps here. I can see all these red things are sold.
They're all sold, but let's be clear too about what comps are, because there's comps that will never help you, that don't help you do wholesale deals. If all your comps are unrenovated, those are still comps. Like comp just means comparable. Right? Comp means similar bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, stories within a half a mile of the subject property. You might have a house that has lots of comps, but if none of those are flipped, they're worthless to you. That's the difference is what I'm trying to drive home here. You want fix and flip comps. You want that 5-star comp, because and let's look at a couple here just to kind of like peel the onion even further. So this here is a property that was recently fix and flipped. Okay. So this here is a report that our system's building. This is the comping side of the benefit. We build this comparative market analysis for every single house in the US. Now we bring this in, we can see we got the property remarks, property features. You're not going to get that if you're using another platform that just has third-party MLS or what they call MLS like that's batch leads, and that's PropStream. They don't have this information. and it doesn't come from the MLS. Our system automatically pulls comparables for you. So this house right here was flipped. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,600 square foot house. And then here is the comp.
You got to pause for a moment. Did you just hear what he said? Our system automatically pulls these comps for you. Can you say it one more time for people in the back, Benson?
The system automatically pulls comps for you from the MLS. So Ingryd is an agent. She has access to AZ MLS, or so she can go in there and pull it. But guess what? She still has to do. It's still manual.
She has to filter, and Privy's already filtering it out for us.
It already filters it out for you. So she's going in there and doing that.
All right.
And so one of the things, I've been a licensed agent for 20 years now. Even with that much experience and access to the MLS in Denver, it'll still take me over an hour to properly comp out one house because it's a pain in the butt. It takes forever. So let me just, illustrate this right here. If I click this button that says all and I click save, that removes the comping algorithm. And now it shows us everything that's in the area. So our system automatically eliminated all these other properties that weren't comparable enough based off of the same process that appraisers and agents use to comp a property, but they're still doing it manually. Our system's automatically doing it. So that's one of the huge benefits is we pull in the sold, pending, active data, as well as rental comparables.
Wow.
So one of the things that I've learned, and actually Pace was one that helped me with this. I was thinking like, how many landlord buyers out there versus fix and flip buyers? And he was saying it's easy, like 20-1, 20 more landlords than there are fix and flippers. So when you guys are thinking about your exit strategy, yes, we want fix and flippers as part of our buyers list, but there's going to be way more landlords that are looking for deals than fix and flippers.
This is actually really cool. So I'm pulled it up on another window because I could follow you, because I'm like, where the heck did he pull that all from? You went so quick. You're so young, you whippersnappers. I didn't pay attention. I realized it was on the left there. So I'm curious, these rentals now, these are actually accurate rent rates that you're seeing from the MLS as well?
These don't come from the MLS. This comes from one of our new data partners, which aggregates all the property management rental data in one place.
Wow.
So see right here, the Hasty Group, that is a property management company.
I feel like I've been living in the Stone Age because I just put them in Zillow and I go through and I'm like, how many days has this been listed? How many contacts does it have? This seems accurate. Dang. That's crazy. This is really
so these are true rental comps. And what's cool about this too is this has nothing to do with the same data source as MLS. So if you wanted to pull rental comps in Boise where we don't have direct to MLS, it's going to look just like this.
Wow.
So you'll be able to see what a 1,995 square foot house rents for versus something that was just flipped versus something that's trashed, right?
Yeah. Dang.
And then we can come down here and we look at the assessor's data and we can see who that owner is. So 2910 Kansas City LLC is a potential buyer. They're a landlord in the area. And we know that they'll buy a 1,600 square foot house in this neighborhood because they already own one.
Benson, you're making me feel all tingly inside. This is so cool.
Are you titillated?
Can you also see people in with second and third position liens too?
No, we have the owner information here, but we don't have the total, the full O&E, ownership and encumbrance, like a title company would. We just know who the main person on title is.
Got it.
Wait, can you show me? Because I'm looking on my screen here. Where for this rental property, how do you see the owner?
At the very bottom. So when you first get here, we got a section for the details, and there's this little anchor for public records. It's at the bottom. You could just scroll down and get to it.
Okay.
You click public records, and it comes down here, and it'll start off on deeds. Then you just click assessor's records.
Okay. Huh.
And it shows it right here.
Here in Phoenix, and I don't have all that on mine. Maybe it just doesn't have all that data right now.
It might be that particular property. I'm not sure.
Yeah, probably.
This is Kansas City.
Yeah, it's a property here in Phoenix. Okay, cool.
So we can actually do
Oh, go ahead, Benson.
Sorry, Ingrid. We can do a completely different search from this to find all the landlords. I'm just showing you the landlords that are comparable to this house.
Yeah.
Right. This is just, there's a handful of active, there's 7 rentals in the area.
Okay. I clicked on a different one in Benson and I have all those opportunities. I have all that stuff.
Cool.
One property.
One of the things I will say is that, one of the reasons why this is important is because you're going to find a property where you're going to have to really, we pull comps, right? There's comparables that prove after repair value. But if you're one of your potential buyers or potential exit strategies is either BRRRR or it's a landlord, you need to know the rental comps too, so you can show that to your buyers list. So what I would suggest, and I would love to hear you guys' input on this, is like when you go to market it, don't just show what the ARV is, also show what the market rents are, so that you can appeal to different people on that list. You can send it out, and a landlord might be interested.
100% agree with you. Actually, crazy thing, had a homeowner trying to help with a foreclosure, got them connected with Matthew Potter the other day, and we're like, they're so upside down in their equity. It's $30,000 to reinstate the loan. They are $800 above the rent rates in the area. Okay. It needs about minimum $15,000 on the inside to clean it up. And there's some exterior work on the pool and everything. And they were on my next person to call on my list, because like I hadn't heard back from them or Matthew Potter. And then I get a call from a wholesaler. A wholesaler calls me and they're like, hey, I need help. They texted, I ignored it because I was on the phone with somebody. And I said, hey, I can text right now. And they're like, hey, I need help moving a deal. I said, well, send me the address. And they sent it to me. I said, this is my lead. I said, this is Susie or whoever it was. And they're like, oh. And I said, yeah, this doesn't work. We were trying to help them out with a short sale. Well, they're going to work with me. We're going to wrap it for them. They really want 10 grand. I'm like, how are you going to get 10 grand and pay yourself and move this deal? And I was like, I talked to them about the rent rates. They're like, oh man, I didn't think about the rent rates. The rent, guys, the rent rates are so important when you're thinking of an exit strategy. I would have taken the property down. I had another one today. It was $1,600 higher than all the rent rates in the area. The people bought the house at the highest time of the market and it's lost value. So being aware of those rent rates, or the ability to move this, like I would have taken it down, caught up the arrears and turned it into a rental. But if you're going to negatively cash flow on a deal, again, this is another situation. You have no comps, run. If you're going to negatively cash flow, run, especially when you're a new investor. Nothing worse than that. So that's a really good nugget. And I have not been using Privy enough. This is really cool because this could help us when we're moving deals. Because literally, Benson, I've been going to Zillow, typing in the property, zooming out, seeing what's for rent, checking to see how many days on market, how many people are interested. This is how do you buy back your time? This is how you buy back your time with accurate data.
Oh, yeah.
So this is me just having a big crush on you, saying thank you again. Because
I think you just got a new customer. A new client was born right now.
Well, I have Privy. I've been on, Benson got me on Privy 2 years ago. I already got my Privy up. I'm just saying I haven't been using it to the capabilities. And this is what I like. This is what I also
okay.
Open these up side by side. I'm watching Benson doing this. You guys should be doing this on yours as well and asking questions in the side chat. And I'm doing the same thing as Benson because I'm a firm believer in I can watch somebody ride a bike. I can watch somebody go snowboarding or ride a unicycle. Until I do it, I don't know what it feels like. I can't say I'm good. So I want to be able to drive the car so I know how it feels. So that's really, really cool, Benson.
Great point.
Yeah.
Let's also mention too, one of the most forgotten things about landlord buyers is they'll pay way more and way higher a percentage of ARV than fix and flippers will. So the percentage of ARV. So let's look at this real deal here. Okay. This house right here that we just saw, there's a section of the comparative market analysis. And don't let that scare you guys. CMA is just a fancy word for a report, but we're pulling all this information in from multiple sources and putting it in one place so you can look at it succinctly and really get some actionable information out of it quickly, right? We have this before and after section. So this is how you learn what a deal is. And this is why I was talking about the great education we can get from our mentors and our gurus and books and podcasts. But none of that will tell you what investors are buying today in a particular market. This is what Privy does. This is the house on the left. This is what the house looked like before they renovated it. So they bought it December 27th, 23. So here's the before pictures. It's actually good shape. Like that's
great condition.
rental grade ready. Like you could put someone in there right now. But lots of places to add value. It's just pretty good. And over here on the right is the after. So we can see what they did to it to increase the value and sell it for $295 because they bought it right here for $169. This is what the purchase price was.
Okay, hold on. I'm missing the 169 part. You might need to.
We gotta move him. We gotta move us.
Our heads are in the way. Oh, there we go.
Get my giant head out of the way.
Yeah.
So right here, it's right below the little section. So we bought it for $169, sold it for $295. They had a gross, this right here, the 126 is their gross profit. Right? Gross means we haven't pulled out any expenses yet. So we don't know what they spent on it. And that's one of the things that I don't know that anybody will ever know, because how much this fix and flipper spent on this project is on their own books. It's not publicly available on any website. But that's okay, because most of the time, you guys, we're always talking gross anyway. Percentage of ARV is a gross number. It does not factor in construction costs, realtor fees, soft costs, title fees, closing stuff. That's not factored in. But we know that the fix and flipper that bought this house will buy at 57% because they just did it. So we can take that and we can start to infer what their buy box is without even having talked to them, because we're looking at a deal they just closed. What we also know about this buyer, these guys right here, let's see, let me just check something. Oh, Premier Rentals sold it to them. These are the people that live in it. So Premier Rentals bought this house at 57%. Guess what else Premier Rentals is okay with? Buying stuff on market. So Caroline, you're teaching people to go and knock on doors, and that's great. You can get good deal flow knocking on doors once it gets going, but it's a long game, right? Because you got to put people in the funnel. There's all the follow-up.
Long pipeline.
What is it? 10 and 12 touches for someone to reach out, or you can get a property under contract. Yeah, it works, but it's a long play. It's a sales play. Like, you're a salesperson. You got to get them on the phone first. Then you got to convince them to want to talk to you. You got to convince, build trust, build rapport, get the ability to talk about the house, ask them if they're even considering selling, and then convince them to give you a price, and then you can negotiate a price, and then maybe you get to submit an offer, right? Well, Premier Rentals found this house on the MLS and just submitted an offer right there. They found a motivated seller. The most motivated people in the real estate world are people who put their houses on the MLS. At that point, the only thing you need to do is get it at the right price. And remember earlier, I told you guys that the easiest way to get a deal is to find the unrenovated home that's down the street from the fix and flip. So the motivation aspect of going after for off market is a good strategy, but there's also low hanging fruit where we know motivated sellers are people who put their houses on the MLS. But if you're in a high investor activity area, those houses that are for sale on the MLS that are in distressed, they need deferred maintenance, those are deals. And you can see here that Premier got this thing at 57%.
Can I nerd out with you for a second, Benson?
Please.
So you're already building in so many algorithms, I'll call it, or formulas. It literally does seem like a formula, more like an if and then statement, for all the nerds out there. Is there an opportunity to API into Privy to automate offers?
No, there's not. I doubt there ever will be. Because of NAR, because of local real estate boards, because of the MLS contracts, there'd be so much backlash if all of a sudden we gave everybody that it was a Privy user the ability to submit blind offers. Yeah. Can you imagine if you had a listing as an agent and all of a sudden all these offers just show up?
I do get those. So
what is this?
I will tell you whether they're supposed to or not. I'm 100% certain there's some very savvy investors out there who have done crawlers on MLS so that they will automate these LOIs. That's how they come to me, because I am an agent, and I have gotten a couple of like once a couple of my properties hit a certain aged out, like days on market, I'll get these LOIs, and I'm like, oh, there's so and so again sending me his automated LOI. So yeah.
Well, they can do it because they don't have contracts with MLSs like we do. Like, we have a higher level of, I would say, compliance that we have to abide to because we get the data. So it's a different game for us, right?
Yeah. So Justin's asking, and this is the second time I've seen it as well. Like, what about those non-disclosure states? Like, how?
Oh, it's amazing. There is not. I don't know how anybody does wholesale in Texas.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Do you know what I have
to do? Or Maricopa County. I mean, like,
I have my agent app, and then I have to go in and like play like FBI. Like, okay, they won't show me on like the algorithm or the stuff that's public. So I'll go see when did it sell, and I actually go to basically the county records in order for me to take, because there's no system that will do it automatically, except I'm hearing then Privy.
Oh yeah. Like, if you look at county records in, say, like Dallas, there's no sold price. You can't see what a house actually sold for, whether it's fixed and flipped or not. So how do you determine what the after repair value is? And if you don't know the ARV, you certainly can't determine what a good offer price is. So let me show you guys this again too. So can we get the screen sharing back up?
Yep.
Thank you. So I'll wrap this one up, and then I'll show you guys Texas. So down here, we show you some helpful things like listing price, price reduction, status changes. That all comes from the MLS. Show the final transaction. All this information here from these flipped houses, we can export this into a list. So if I want to build a buyers list of 102 buyers like that, all I do is I just click download. And then this will download into a CSV file. And then you can take this, and I'll answer somebody's question before, which is, can you find contact information? No, you can't, but we export all this information here for the subject property. Actually, you guys probably can't see this. Can you see that spreadsheet?
No, we can't.
No, just a download complete. Yeah, somebody was asking, like, how can we find the owners of the LLCs with Privy? But what you're saying is you can export that publicly available data of who owns it, and then use that information to then use a skip tracing tool, is my assumption. Is that correct?
Yes. So let's try this one more time so we can do the screen again. And I want to see if we can see the spreadsheet here.
Oh, Caroline, for whatever reason, that changed at the bottom.
Hang on. He's sharing his screen.
Oh, got it.
Why isn't it's only doing the tab? It's not doing the screen for some reason. Okay. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
So it exports a CSV file. Okay. So the CSV file comes out. It shows all of the
LLCs. Vincent, if you do it again, so click on present. Do share screen, and then on the top right, it should say entire screen. Do you see that? I'm going to mute you, Ingrid, because you have background noise.
Oh, there we go. Entire screen.
There you go. And now we should be able to see everything.
Oh, so smart.
It's not my first rodeo. All right, go on though.
So here's that CSV. So there's 102 buyers on here. So we got the subject property way over here. And then we got the buyer right here. So some of them are LLC, some of them are individuals. We got the mailing address. So that's one of the key pieces of doing skip tracing. So we don't skip trace natively inside of Privy. I don't know if we ever will. We're not a marketing platform. That's one of the things I will say that Batch Leads and or PropStream does. Like, they're marketing platforms. That's where they really help you. So like, you want to do mailers, text blasting, ringless voicemail. That's what those platforms are for. Okay. What I'm showing you now is what Privy is good for. You could take this and you could skip trace it. So you got the mailing address. And the other thing that's really cool about Privy is that right here in column AJ,
Mm-hmm.
we export this link. This link is the unique URL for the comparative market analysis for these properties.
Oh, sweet. So can you open it up in a new window and show us?
Yeah, so I could just click like any of these CMAs. If I just click this CMA right here, and I put it into browser, it shows me the CMA for this property, and it automatically updates. So down here is all of today's comps. So if a new sold happens tomorrow, it'll update right here. So if I built like a PDF or some sort of a comp list for a house, the next day it's obsolete, right?
Mm-hmm.
With Privy, these update live. So
That's really
what I
cool.
do is when I download this spreadsheet, I upload it to my CRM. I use Go High Level. And I created a unique field and Go High Level, not a unique, but a custom field.
Yeah.
And when I upload the list, I map the column to that. So now when I'm in my CRM, I just click the link and it takes me to the current CMA with updated comps.
That's really nice because I have Go High Level as well. And I've been training, I have new door knockers. So I've been making calls to them, showing how calls should go, uploading stuff to the notes, showing them how to organize everything. And I was like, this is what our ARV is roughly right now, but it'd be so nice. I will just like, one of them already had Privy on their own. So I'm like, we'll just be able to copy these links and put them in there. That is such a quick clutch thing because I'm teaching them how to be able to know what their max allowable offer is. That is, dang, Benson, I was
Can you batch search addresses though? Like, okay, so let's say Caroline,
let me finish here. So the one name, never mind. Actually, I forgot my train of thought. Go ahead, ask what you're going to say. The addresses.
Yeah, but can you batch search addresses? And I say batch because like a bulk search addresses. So if she has a list of like, so her door knockers, right? They have a list of 20 properties. She's got those 20 properties she could upload and then pull those comps.
Yep. So there's two ways to do that. So you can type the address of any one property right in here to the search bar, and it will find it. It'll build a comparative market analysis on a one-off basis. Caroline, let's say you pulled a list of liens, right, from a certain area. You could take that list and you can upload it right in here into the list on the left, and it will analyze all those properties with direct to MLS data in seconds. So it'll analyze thousands of properties. It builds a comparative market analysis, and you can you have that link for all those properties, and that link can go into the CRM.
Nobody's seeing me over here. This is, oh my gosh, Benson, I have such a crush on you. Like, you are so dreamy right now. Thank you for asking that. Ingrid, I remember my question. I was just gonna be like, this is going to just buy back so much time. And I literally just said, like, I've had Privy since we interacted that first time on the Elephant Challenge. I just have not been using it to the capabilities that I needed to. When did you get this rental thing on here?
8 months ago.
Dude, I had no idea. Didn't really pay attention to it. Like, guys, I am the knucklehead who pays for a service and uses it like at the 1% of capability that it can be used at. I even put in my freaking calendar. I was like, I have to pay attention to my Privy emails. I need to know when they're doing updates on things. I need to interact with Benson more. Like, you have just solved a problem that I had, and I didn't even like, oh, this is so nice. Wow.
It's a really good question. And that kind of, solution there, it's not an everyday solution for everybody that's on here, but I promise you guys, it's going to save you a bunch of time. Because one of the things that, like you said, pulling lists, like in Colorado, probates are online for free, tax delinquencies, code violations, like a lot of stuff that's just, you can pull that from your county for free, and then you can just upload it right to Privy, and it will analyze all those properties for you, build that comparative market analysis, and you can put that in your CRM, and it just makes it so simple. I want to mention too, we have a mobile optimized version of Privy, so you can log into Privy from your mobile browser, and it looks just like if I come over here and I just adjust this, see, it's all not reactive. What is it? Adjustable. So it looks just like an app on your phone. And you can type the address in, You got you can analyze properties. So that's all right there. But what I want to show you too is this low hanging fruit. So remember I was telling you, you target high investor activities to find properties you can write offers on every day.
Yeah.
Right here is that button. So we actually have a patent pending on this reverse search where you can click this one button. Privy goes in and it analyzes all the properties in this area. And now it's finding us houses that we can buy today that it will match our specific deal criteria.
Bro.
So remember Premier Rentals? They bought it 58%, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to come into the filter and I'm going to adjust this because our default filter is set to 75% or lower. So it'll catch something that's at 40% or 70%, but we know Premier wants it 58. So let's lower this. So I'm going to lower this to 58%. And then let's say, for example, we talked to Premier and they're like, yeah, we don't want to buy anything over, say, 200. So you can adjust the price down. Maybe they only buy properties that are 3-bedroom, 2-bath. You can essentially build the buy box of your own buy box or the buy box of your buyers in Privy, and Privy will constantly look for deals that match that specific deal criteria. So let's rerun this at 58%. And here's properties that we can get right now. So,
and they're still on, holy smokes.
So this house right here, it's for sale for $129. Okay, here it is, rental grade. You can obviously there's lots of places here you can add value. It's for sale for $129. It's a 3-1. Now, if I scroll down into the CMA, the reason why this property was flagged as a potential deal is because this house right here just is pending at $245,000. So it's using the comparables to automatically find properties that could be potential deals based off of the current comps and the list price of the house where it currently sits. Now this one is 1,000 square feet. This one just barely matches the comp criteria. This one is probably something I wouldn't make a move on, but let's look at this house. So this one's for sale for $104,000. I come down to the comparables. The reason why this property was flagged as a potential deal is because this house was fix and flipped. It hasn't sold yet though, but it's for sale for $248,000. So if this house sells close to $248,000, look at the percentage of ARV, 42%. So this house at asking price, when this house sells, will be close to 42%. Now we can click over to solds and see what else is in the area. And looks like the highest sold besides that one is 140.
76, one right above it.
Oh, 176. Here we go. Now, 17, if that's, the next realistic comp, then that would put this house at 60%. So which means we'd have to try to get it lower than say like 100 to get it down below that 58% mark. So it's always analyzing, looking for opportunities for you. And you don't have to be in the system all day. You're going to be at work. You're going to be at soccer practice. You're going to be at church or the bar or wherever you spend your time. And it will find these kinds of opportunities for you. And then you just write the offers.
That's really cool. I want to get to a question I have on the Instagram live here. I think I know the answer, but the Mark Jones said, if I upload a list of homes to knock, can Privy analyze the best logistical route and plan for the day? I'm assuming you guys do not do route planning.
We don't do that. No.
Yeah. This is more
the team
of
I was with, and when I was in Kansas City, they just used MapQuest.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't even know people use MapQuest anymore. But I think that's better at route planning than say Google Maps is. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is more so this is where you're going to be able to find deals. Again, this is not like you're not going to skip trace phone numbers on here. This is a lot. I'm just impressed with it. I'm actually looking at one of my other properties that today I was just comping, and it is quick and easy to pull all of that up. That's really cool. So I appreciate that, Benson. This is really
Benson, you mostly have single family homes, right? That's the primary focus. So is there a filter for like small multifamily or anything like that?
For sure. Yeah. Like right here. So filter, you just switch to multifamily. So if you wanted multifamily homes, you just switch from single family to multifamily.
There you go, Socrates. There's your answer.
So this is a 4 unit. You can get for 325. That's an 18 unit, 2 unit.
Nice.
So yeah, we do multifamily too. So a lot of people say like, okay, after about like 4 or 5 units, people start to list properties on a completely different database. And it's usually like CoStar or it's going to be LoopNet, right? Maybe Crexy. Those like to make the 3 big ones. But you'll still find large multifamily properties on here, but it's up to the agent to decide where they list it. If they list it on the MLS, we'll have it. If they list it on LoopNet, we won't have it. But we also have, so these are on market multifamily. Let's say we want off market. So what we do is we click sold multifamily. And here's multifamily that are off market that you can, that are not currently for sale. So I just changed the timeline here. And I zoom in.
I'm gonna meet you again, Ingrid.
So these are all off-market multifamily properties. Some of them were for sale on the MLS at one point. But here's a filter too that you can use. This is cool. So timeline it all. But if somebody just bought a property that was, say, a 4 unit last month, you think they're going to be motivated to sell? Probably not, right?
No, we just bought it. Yeah.
So we can change the date range and we can say, okay, well, we don't want anything that was purchased within the last 5 years. So let's go back to 2019. So now the most recent sale that's going to show up here is going to be properties that were purchased before 2019. So this one is 2000 here. That one's 2000. This one's 16. These are all off market. So you could pull this list and target them.
That's really cool. That's sick. Benson, I'm going to have to let Ingrid carry this the rest of the way. I actually have an appointment right now. But thank you so much for jumping on here. This is so cool. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. It was
I was
good seeing you, Caroline.
Like, there's so much value that you provided us, especially Caroline. And so I think we're going to have you back. I don't see how we don't have you back. It feels like we just barely hit the tip of the iceberg. Am I wrong on that?
We're just scratching the surface. Like, there's not a ton more features, but how you use those features is really where I think we could dig deeper. Like, what's the actual use case for certain things? I touched on that a little bit. One of a couple other things.
Have you tried getting a deal like while you were on air and been like,
okay, we've gotten, for sure. Yeah, we've found deals before. Like, we do trainings a lot with different coaches and mentors, and we'll be like, come join us. We're going to find 5 deals live and give them away. And we give away deals to people. They go write offers, and we've had people make tens of thousands of dollars from stuff I found on Privy Live, and we just gave it to them.
Oh my gosh. So I'm thinking that we should do that with you, but in our Facebook group. So it's like a more private scenario. So if you guys think that we should have Benson back, I'd love to see you guys comment, and who would come and try to get a deal from us, from Benson, if we had him back. Who out there would love to see Benson back and see us do that with you? Would love to see if I get enough yeses in the comments, Benson. I think that we will have you come back and let's see if we can do a deal on the podcast. That'd be so awesome.
That would be amazing. I would be happy to do that.
I love it. So our ask of all of you right now is go to Facebook, go to the Explain It podcast Facebook group, and then leave a comment to say, bring back Benson. Oh, bring back Benson. I like that. So I'll be. Yeah, triple B. Awesome.
So for that person that was wondering about non-disclosure states, this is Dallas. So we got all the photos. When you come down here to the comparables, you see we got the sold price of the properties. So the comps, let me just adjust this. So any non-disclosure state, and I think there's like 10 plus. Like here's all the sold prices. This house was flipped. So down here here's the after, and if we come down to the before, this is what the house looked like before they flipped it. So this is non-disclosure state.
That's freaking amazing. Do you know how I can't believe the whole time I could have just been in privy, because I do buy in Texas, and then I feel like I have to bother people. Like my good friend Sub 2 Drew out in Texas. I'm like, hey bro, how good is this deal? Actually, can we do a live comping right now of a property I've been trying to sell in Spring, Texas? This is a really weird property though, because it was an assisted living property, but I'd love to see what the ARV-ish looks like.
Yeah, what's the address?
So it's 510 Enchanted Hollow Drive.
What a street name.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So it's a 5 ranch.
It's an 8-bed, 7.5 bath house in the way
Is
that
there a
it is.
basement, or do they just, this is what county record says.
Right. I believe they added a second story of extra beds, like 3 more beds.
Okay.
It was owner operated, so I have to believe that they were probably living upstairs whilst they ran the rest of the business downstairs.
Yeah. All right, so let's check this out.
So literally, they will sell this right now for cash for $360. We already have this under contract. So they will sell it at $360, or we have terms where if somebody has $55,000, this could be yours. And the PITI is around 2,800, I want to say 2,809 or something like that. So this will definitely cash flow as an assisted living property, 100%. But I'm just curious, if we sell it at 360, like how good of a deal is somebody getting?
Yeah, I'm going to adjust some of this stuff here. So that's the cool thing about the comping area here is like you can go in and you can massage it to try to get what you're looking for. So you can adjust the square foot tolerance, the number of stories. I just went in and changed the beds and bathrooms, because you probably want to go out a mile, not just a half a mile in a deal like this. And so that'll adjust on the fly. Now it's going to show us kind of the new comps that are there. And so here's some of the more recent sales. So 519, 429, 604.
Nice. Because I was saying, I think the ARV is around 600 with just using straight up comps and limited comping that I can do with it, because obviously it's a very unique property, 8 bedrooms, bedrooms, right? So it's actually an assisted live. Well, it was being used as assisted living through December. So if anybody out there is an assisted living operator, definitely DM me. This property is still available. You can buy it for $55,000. There is some deferred maintenance, not a whole ton, because it was being used through December. Like for example, it has a pool. The pool doesn't get used; it's covered, but it needs replastering. But yeah, like we're just trying to get this puppy sold, and like I said, 360 cash will do it, or we'll give you some terms with a $55,000 down payment. I think a 5-year balloon. So, yep.
Awesome.
And it has an HOA, $52 a month.
Oh, $52 a month for the HOA.
Yeah. But assisted living properties are protected by ADA, the American Disabilities Act. So you can run ADAs and HOAs. You just can't be closer to than 1,000 square feet from the next one. So get this one while it's hot.
Awesome.
Well, Benson, this was so awesome. I appreciate you immensely, truly. And again, we'll coordinate a really great time. It'll probably be an off podcast time so that we can see about landing a deal. And like, how long did it take you to land a deal? An hour, 2 hours?
No, I can find like a dozen viable deals in under an hour. It just depends on what market, right? Like Again,
Wow.
when you target these high investor activity areas, the deals just come out of the woodworks. Like they're high investor activity area. It depends on, and it depends on where you're at, right? Like it's not going to work in Colorado. Like there's some decent activity here, but it's not a high investor activity area, and there's high prices. So there's like this kind of like magic formula: high investor activity area, lower to mid prices, lots of demand. We can find all of that really quickly with the data.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so I'm putting like what I want people to do. So you're going to bring Benson back. So if you guys go to the comment in there, I have the link to our Facebook group. So that way we can send a special registration, because we don't want this to be out in the like super public, because we're going to be reaching out for potential offers. All we're doing is inviting people to deal block us, if you will. But come to the Facebook group, subscribe, leave a comment that you want Benson to come back, and we will do a deal day challenge where me, Caroline, and Benson, we're going to try to do deals and then have you guys partner up with us. So does that sound good?
I think that sounds like a blast. I think it's going to be some fun time. And, for those of you that are, trying to get your first deal, you're looking for your next deal, then that'll be someplace you definitely want to be.
Absolutely. So Benson, how do people get a hold of you if they want to buy into Privy or DM you for potential deals? Like how do we go?
Well, I can give you a link. So I'll put this here in the chat. If you could just repost this for me.
Absolutely.
And then I got a special offer right now. If you used promo code OMNI, that'll get you a discount. And then if you're interested in checking me out, it's Benson _REI on Instagram, or Benson REI on TikTok.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we will also put that in the show notes after we post. That way folks can come and reach you. But again, if we have you guys saying bring Benson back on the Facebook group, we'll also have Benson back, and we're going to do some deals. Well, thank you so much, Benson.
Thank you.
Guys, like and follow and subscribe, or do all the things, which is great. But we're here every Wednesday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Arizona time. We do know the time has changed, but guess whose time has not? Arizona's. So we have consistently showed up at the same time. So we'll see you guys back here Wednesday next week at 4 p.m. And if you guys go to our Facebook group, the Explain It podcast with Caroline and Ingryd, we will let you know when we'll have Benson back, and you'll have your opportunity to do a deal with us using Privy. Thanks, everybody.